Hey everybody, Ray Pastor, and today we're going to be talking about the new Forerunner 945 LTE version. I've been really excited for the next gen Garmin watches, and we finally have a sneak peek of what that's going to look like. I'm going to talk about some of the new features, specifically focusing on the LTE and what I think about it. Do I think it's worth purchasing? You know, if you have the 935 or 945, should you wait for the 955? We're going to talk about all that kind of stuff. I do want to say up ahead in front that I don't have a 945 LTE yet. I just have a 945. So we're just going to talk about the features. I want to tell you my thoughts on them and whether I think, is it worth the upgrade or should you be waiting? And what does this watch really do? All right, so let's start out with, let's talk about some of the differences. So first of all, the watch size has changed very slightly. It does have the new optical heart rate sensor. So I think that if you're really into getting the latest heart rate sensor, then I believe that could be something that would make you want to buy this watch. But me personally, I did have problems with the heart rate sensor of the 935 when it first came out, but they fixed them via software updates. I honestly have not had an issue with Garmin's heart rate sensors since those were fixed on the 935. Never had an issue with the 945. Always worked great. And I wear multiple watches during my runs and stuff because I usually wear my Apple Watch as well. And I haven't had any issues with the Garmin heart rate sensor, like going out during a run or anything like that. And it's seemed pretty accurate. So I've been very happy. So to me, like the new heart rate sensor that it has that isn't something that's like I need to upgrade because of that feature. It's this is nice. It's nice to have. But besides that, that's really the hardware upgrade that I've at least saw so far in this watch. I haven't seen any other, internal chips change or anything like that. But what they do have is they now have the LTE feature. So let's talk about it. So the first thing that's interesting about the LTE feature is that unlike your Apple Watch and the old Vivo Active 3, you don't actually go through your phone provider. So this is Garmin's own system. This is Garmin's own LTE system. They're going to go through other providers for you, but you're not actually, they're going to use their satellites and stuff, their towers, but you don't actually subscribe through them. You actually pay through Garmin. All right, so let's talk about, first of all, about the watch itself. The watch costs $649. So that's $50 more than the current 945, which actually isn't bad, and the 945 is on sale right now for $550, so really $100 difference, and I wonder if they'll just keep it at that price. But so not a bad price. But okay, so then you get into, but there's this plan, this LTE plan. So basically you're going to pay Garmin for a subscription model, which is kind of cool. So first of all, if you pay month to month, it's $6.99 a month. If you pay the annual, $5.99. I actually think that's really good, like brilliant pricing. I'm really happy with that. And I actually like the fact that they circumvent the phone carriers and you're paying for this through Garmin. Now there are advantages and disadvantages to that, and I'll talk about some of them as I go through this, that Garmin is the carrier. All right, so let's talk about the features, and as I do that, we'll talk about some of these advantages and disadvantages. So first of all, yes, you have LTE connectivity. Garmin says that when you have, GPS enabled and live tracking, you're looking at like 7 some hours of battery life. So for those of you doing triathlons, probably not going to really work for you for, any kind of full length Ironman or anything like that. The LTE feature is not going to work. So you would just have it turned off for them. Otherwise, it's going to work for like a marathon, any road races, any smaller tries that you want to do, sprints and stuff like that. It's going to work perfectly. So I think for most people, it should be okay. But let's talk about, so that's like battery life, but let's talk about the actual features of this thing. So the first feature is assistance. And basically what assistance allows you to do is contact your emergency contact, whoever that happens to be, wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, kids, grandparents, friends, coach, whoever it happens to be. You can contact them. You can send them some default messages like I'm hurt, someone's following me, I'm lost. simple messages like that are by default in the watch. You can send them those kind of messages. Then there's Assistance Plus, which actually allows you to contact basically a 911 call center. It contacts a Garmin center, which contacts 911, and they will pinpoint where you are and come get you. So it does include that emergency feature. That emergency feature is huge. You know, I've told the story a bunch of times, but I was out surfing. You know, people talk about like, is LTE worth it? You know, and here's one of the times where it's 1000% worth it. So sometimes people do activities that they can't actually bring their phone on. You know, some people say, well, I'm running, I can bring my phone. I think it's a huge pain in the tail for me to bring my phone running with me. On the bike, it's not at all. I don't mind it. But running, it's a huge pain for me to bring my phone. So, but I do other activities where I actually can't bring my phone, like surfing. I'm a huge surfer. I love surfing. I surf as much as humanly possible, live near the beach, all that good stuff. So I actually did have an emergency where I cut my hand. You totally couldn't see it in the camera, so I'm not even going to show you, but I had like about 17 to 19 stitches in my hand while I was surfing in the water. I did not have a way to call for help. It was 6 a.m. I was super lucky. The lifeguards happened to be training up on the beach where I was surfing, so I was able to paddle in and get help right away. I was super lucky that they happened to be there training, because normally at that time there's no one there and I was surfing by myself. Ever since that time, I purchased an Apple Watch and have the phone service for emergencies because I realized I needed it. So this Assistance Plus takes care of that. Now, maybe I can't actually physically call, like won't be able to talk into it. The watch only lets you send those default text messages that Garmin has, but someone would be coming right away. That's all I would care about. That's what I needed. So I think that for some people, this is going to be a huge game-changing feature for them. And I think the cost, like, let's talk about the cost. Like as I said, it was $5.99 or $6.99 a month, depending on what you choose, month to month or annual. You know, for my Apple Watch, I'm paying $10 a month. Well, really, it's like 12 something. So I'm paying almost double the price. You get a little more though. We'll get there. Let's talk about that. We're going to get there. So let's get there. All right. Next thing, you have live tracking, which is done via LTE, which means that people can, see where you are on the map. They can find you. And obviously you can turn that off, but that is kind of cool that like someone can see where you are when you're running at all times. You have something called Spectator Messaging, which basically they have to go into Garmin's ecosystem and they can send you messages. So this isn't like, so they can send you voice messages or text messages in the Garmin system. But there are a few things, little buggy things about that. So first of all, like the message isn't stored anywhere. So if you miss it, you miss it. And the second thing is that this isn't like a normal like text message. So like my wife, who doesn't use anything, she's definitely not like a tech person, and she doesn't have a Garmin watch. She has an Apple Watch, and that's all she has. She's never going to be able to contact me via this messaging system. She's never going to be able to go into get Garmin's ecosystem and figure out how to send me a message ever. She needs to send me like a text message to my name, to my phone number. And that's the real disadvantage of this system, is that this is not tied to your phone number. So it's an advantage in that you don't have to deal with the phone company. It's also an advantage that it's cheaper. It's also an advantage that like I find there's some weird, having my Apple Watch with the same phone number as my phone is kind of, there's some weird trade-offs there, like the way it hands off to the phone sometimes or doesn't, or the watch, like vice versa. Like there are some weird quirks with that Apple hasn't been able to figure out. And I think Garmin would have those same problems. So in one hand, I'm really glad that this isn't tied to my phone number and all that stuff. On the other hand, it's not going to be really easy for my wife to just send me a text message. She can send me a text message to my phone, but if I don't have it on me, it's not going to come through. And I can tell you that like when I'm out surfing, it is nice for my wife to say, hey, what time are you going to be back? And I can say like 10 minutes. I'm out on the water in 30 minutes or something like that. Or, if there's an emergency, she can contact me and say, I have 3 kids. She can say like the kids hurt, concussion, which that kind of stuff happens all the time. I have 3 boys, you know, and I get that message and I can get out of the water, you know, or she can be like, I broke down, or whatever it happens to be. With the Garmin watch, she's not going to really be able to send me those kind of messages unless she logs into Garmin, and she's not doing that. So that would never be something that she would be able to use. And I imagine other people are going to be in that same situation where their spouse or friends or parents or whoever it happens to be just aren't going to understand how to really contact you. So that's where like the disadvantage is. Then there's something called live event sharing, which you can send like updates during your race. They have like a picture on their website of like, I just finished lap 3 or whatever it happens to be, you know, it sends like the pace and stuff, which is really cool for people watching you during an event. And those are the features of Garmin's new LTE service. That's really what it does. The rest of the watch is basically the 945. It does all the stuff, you know. I've been reading that there's a few little like, you know, some face changes here and there, like some minor things. But it's a 945 with LTE, essentially. So, you know, is the LTE worth it? Do you think that it's worth upgrading? Should you upgrade from this? So I think that, and when, let's talk about when I think the 955 is actually coming and stuff too. So I have the 945. I also have an Apple Watch with LTE. I think it's 100% not worth it for me to upgrade this because I already have the LTE features that I need from the Apple Watch, and they're greater than what I would get from Garmin right now. Now, if I didn't have the Apple Watch and I really wanted the LTE and I had a 945, so if I have the 945, I really want the LTE features, is it worth the upgrade? I mean, it's $650, so I think if you need the emergency service, like the way I did for surfing, I think it's 100% just worth it. Like for me to just have an emergency device, that's why I have the Apple Watch, it was worth it. So I think it could be worth it for the emergency service. Like when I cut my hand open, had the lifeguards not been there, like I don't know really what would have happened. They were able to take me, look at my hand, wrap it up, get me all situated, get help for me. So I don't know. I think paying $650 for an emergency device is worth it. So if you're looking at it like that, this could be worth it for you. If you have the 935, I'd say the same thing. I actually had to use my 935 not too long ago. I was away and I forgot to bring my 945 after I showered right before I left and forgot to put my watch on. So I had used my 935 because it was in my I had to bring like a tech bag with me and my computers and stuff when I go away, and it happened to be in there, and I got to use it, and I hadn't used it in forever, and it actually, I was like, wow, I actually really like the 935. I feel like I could have just used this. I never really needed to do that big upgrade to the 945 to begin with. I always liked the 935, and it didn't have any issues. So I think that if you're holding off for the huge upgrade, like I feel like this is a minor upgrade unless you consider the emergency LTE feature a large thing. If you don't, I think that the 955 is coming. I think that it might be another year before you see the Phoenix 7 and 955. And the reason that I think that is I really think it has to do with the chip shortage. I don't know if it, like I would love to know if this was Garmin's plan a year ago to release the 945 LTE, or their plan was to build a 955 LTE and release it right now, but they just can't due to the chip shortage. So we don't know that. But that's my speculation, is that is the case. And I feel like this is kind of like a, you know, part 2 of the 945 rather than like a next gen upgrade. So I'm probably, you know, seeing that this is a hold off, unless you have a 935 and you really need the upgrade, and like it's dying, the battery's going and stuff like that, then this is worth getting. If you have the 945 and you really want the LTE, I think this could be worth getting. Just be prepared for that, like in 10 to 12 months from now, you're going to see next gen watches. So, you know, if you can't hold off, then it could be worth it. I also think that, you know, for someone like me, it's probably worth holding off for now. But I am excited for the tech. I think this is a huge step in the right direction. Some of the things I do want to see, I would like to see Garmin figure out how to make this more seamless with the texting back and forth between like a friend, spouse. Even if they keep it on their system, I actually prefer that. But figure out how to make it a little more seamless for us. I think that'll be the big thing, and allow me to actually send messages to someone, like just type kind of thing. I think is important. Not the default messages. But I think they're on the right track here, and maybe this is like a trial run to get them ready for the 955 LTE, which I'm super excited for. Because I did a video even just like I was like a month or two ago when I talk about all the things I'd like to see on the next gen app. 955 or Phoenix 7, and really, looking at my video, I think I listed like 11 or 12 different things, and then I had a bunch of people comment maybe like 10 additional things. The only two things that are on this out of that whole list of like are the LTE and the new heart rate sensor. So like none of the other things that we listed, that I listed, or any of the people commenting listed are in this. So it doesn't feel like a next gen upgrade. But I'm excited. I think it's cool. It's not something you're going to see me have, just because I simply don't have a need for it. But I like it. I like where the tech's going. I think it's cool. So thumbs up, Garmin. I know that they probably couldn't do the 955 because of the chip shortage. So, we've got something. At least we're like a little excited. We know what the future holds. We get to see how Garmin's going to implement LTE, which is kind of cool. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you get it. I'm kind of curious to see what people think of the LTE. I'm kind of also curious to hear if you're going to upgrade or not. Like for those that have the 935 or 945, are you going to upgrade to this? That's what I'm kind of curious about. Are you going to get this one knowing that Garmin's probably not going to release another one in the next few months? You're pretty safe there, but who knows? This fall, who knows what they're going to do, but most likely it's going to be in a year from now. You're going to see the next watch. So, are you going to upgrade? And for those new to the Garmin ecosystem, this is absolutely what I would buy. So if I was brand new to the Garmin ecosystem and didn't have the 935 or 945 and was like, I really want a great, Garmin watch, I would probably 100% buy this over everything else. I really like the Phoenix 7 Solar, but I would probably get this over that right now, just for the LTE features. I personally think the LTE is worth it for someone getting into the ecosystem for that emergency service. So all right, y'all. Hope you enjoy, and let me know what you think of the watch in your comments later, everybody.